Welcome back, Venturers. It's time for another discussion about the ends. I'm Emar, and together with Tauros, we celebrate another year of Venture podcast. Today, I haven't prepared any funny or cringy intro, but I wanted to humbly thank every listener for their support. It means a lot to us that you are willing to spend, which is the most precious, your time, listening to us talking. From the bottom of my heart, I send thank you. Before I get emotional and start crying, I'll hand it off to Tauros.
Yes. On the one hand, we have the new year looking forward to us, and hopefully 2025 brings with it all sorts of more additional wonderful memories and recordings and episodes for us to share with all you listeners. But let's give one final look at 2024 in a retrospective of everything that has taken place in this time. A lot of good parts and a lot of interesting parts, and some other parts that we didn't really get to completely cover last time that we can revisit in reminiscence. So on that note, what do you think about some of those topics, MR?
Well, first thing first, I feel like the lesson learned from last year is avoiding spoilers is hard, okay? And on many occasions during our recording session, I caught myself. I was just about to say a major spoiler, and I just cut myself like under silence. Multiple times I got that. It's hard trying to maintain a spoiler-free zone, as well as convey why this particular thing, be it the end or a theme being brought up, resonated. That's a very difficult balancing act. So on that note, the one episode we did with spoilers, I think it was the Aspulse, that felt so freeing on that one recording.
Yes, we had one episode, it was the Aspulse one, and you kind of have to talk about spoilers if you're ever going to talk about those unsatisfying resolutions. That's kind of the whole definition of it, to be honest. But yeah, like you mentioned, it was very freeing, a very big change of pace to finally get to talk about endings and the ways they impacted the story. A lot of times with other videos, we don't want to spoil anything for any listeners out there who haven't read the specific titles that we happen to bring up. And a lot of times it's limiting because you want to talk about why this character had such great growth, or like, a big reason you love this VN is because of the ending. And it's like that's all I can say. I can't talk about how like the ending was such a great twist, or I never saw that final reveal coming. And it's like, but if I even mention there's a big twist at the end, that's gonna start planting the seeds of doubt for people.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what's the funniest example of all of that? In my opinion, from the previous year, the funniest example of that has to be Man Demon. Because the episode about Man Demon showcased that I know, that you know, that you know, that I know, but they don't know, so we won't mention it, okay? And we had to navigate to communicate with each other why this particular thing was super cool by not saying what it was, and still conveying the message of, go check it out. It's so cool.
Yeah, Man Demon was an unexpected hit for me and you this last year. I really liked its aesthetics and the vibes and all of that. But I wasn't expecting anything that great. I knew it was short and kind of an indie title, but when I stumbled across it, thanks to a few others saying good things about it, I was like, whoa, this is great. And then I convinced you too, and then you checked it out and you're like, yo, this is great.
Yeah, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but did you check it out based on someone else's recommendation?
Yep.
Okay. So it's like the chain of recommendation kept growing. Okay.
Word of mouth, yeah. But yeah, going back. Oh, you have something?
No. I just wanted to end that. That was very unique episode, especially that it marked the first time we both read in the same time span the same year on a read board, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And honestly, I wish I could have more spoiler discussion episodes. Because I've always wanted, it's always something we've kicked around on the table and wanted to bring to viewers for a change of pace. But when you're able to talk about spoilers freely, that alienates anyone who hasn't read that title. Then it's like, now they can't listen because you're going to go entirely into talking about plot twists and whatnot. So the only people who can watch are people who are already in the know about that title. And so, I don't want some people to get excluded like that. But at the same time, it opens up so many new opportunities to talk about things and to share our hot takes and opinions. There's a lot of good and bad with it, And we did do one spoilery episode. I would have liked to do more.
I feel like this is precisely why when you brought up a couple times during the discussion, what about a book club? Okay. And this is something that lives rent-free in my mind, and I keep going back and thinking about it, how to implement an idea of a book club, because it would be, to a limited degree, freeing to talk about spoilers, because in that kind of retrospective book club, we could create an environment in which we have a scope. For example, a couple of chapters. We are free to talk about those couple of chapters. So this is not fully spoilerific, but it does archive our thoughts in that moment. And maybe it would convince people who tune in to listen about that title to check it out themselves. So the book club idea still lives rent-free in my head, okay? I think about it. I consider it. There are definite cons and pros about that approach, and a couple ideas of how we could do it. But yeah, I keep going back because it does present some very interesting opportunities.
Mm-hmm. That book club was always our dream idea, huh? Always our plan for how can we make that work? We keep kicking it around, be like, someday we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Speaking of other things to work out, there's always the April Fool's episodes as well. Last April Fool's we had Ange and Bruce surprise guest appearing as they took over the channel.
Yeah, not only that, but I have to give them props for doing an amazing job. I was laughing the whole through during the recording and after. That was so funny to hear them mimic and parody our intros before us joining back in. It felt so humbling and fun to be a part of. So I definitely love that episode. And thanks also for them to organizing that, because we kinda went on a tight schedule with that April Fool's episode. Thanks again, guys, for jumping in, because it was quite a short notice, if I remember correctly. So props to them.
But it was still very fun for everyone involved, all of them and us, and hopefully for everyone listening too, getting faked out at the beginning.
Yeah, true. It definitely was a Bruce and Ange kind of year. We had them multiple times in the podcast. They are a blast. So, and recently we had Bruce in December, also kind of on a short notice, as well as before that we had Ange during the recap of Anime Expo. Oh my god, huge shout out to Ange for that, not only for having the recording of what happened, but also working schedule with us in I don't know, was it 3 days? We scheduled everything? God damn.
Pretty short.
It was super short. We oftentimes send invites to our guests ahead of time, 1 month, month and a half, sometimes 2 months. ahead, so everybody has time to schedule everything fine, so it doesn't intersect with your plans or something. No, Angela's like, yeah, I'm on board. Let's do it.
Yeah, because Anime Expo, it happens, and then I guess we cover it a little in review later, after the fact. So
Yeah.
there's only so much time to hear all the information that came out of it, and then to meet up with Ange, and then talk about what we will, and cover all the news and stuff. So it wasn't easy in that sense either. But thankfully,
True.
he's an awesome guy, and he was able to come in and help us out and bring up a very news informative angle to all the viewers.
Yeah. To be honest, that kind of coverage, Anime Expo, I would like to have annually with Ange, if he agrees with that. And moving forward, we could just schedule it 1 month ahead. Exactly, given the time frame of Anime Expo, we can talk with him ahead of time for 1 month. If he's on board, then he will go there, have his cover locally, and after a week, after he gets his viewers on his channel, we can cover that on the podcast, something like that, with the live Ange commentary. I mean, it doesn't have to be last minute, right? We can schedule that ahead of time. Even if at that point in time, we don't have yet Anime Expo.
Yeah, of course, these things don't have to be at the last minute, but isn't it more fun when we just suddenly spring this stuff on people?
Well, it is definitely more fun if you define fun as doing everything at the last minute. Then definitely this is fun.
That it is.
We're kind of stretching the definition of fun, okay? But speaking with about people who we had a lot of fun with, we've been guests on the Daybreak Translations podcast with Barry B. And we had him multiple times on the podcast itself. He's a really funny guy. He has that, how can I say it, shitposty atmosphere with him.
He's
we
one
always joke around.
Yeah, one hell of a character, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
To be honest, you kind of have to be in the translation sphere for online Japanese H games, which is basically what we're working with, a very strange blend of determination and outreach and dedication and degeneracy in a good way.
Yeah, I always go back to how he was talking about comparing being a fan translator to having a licensed work, and how it's more constraining to get a licensed work because you don't have free pick of what you get. So a lot of the time you get to work on translating things which may not necessarily be of the highest quality, but it sells.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
it's job's a job.
He has to job's a job, right? So he has to endure a ton of translating of things that may not be, let's say, fulfilling in a linguistic sense after he gets something that he actually enjoys.
Oh yeah, that's the professional world. Everyone has to do things that they may not necessarily want to. That's just a fact of life.
Now, funny enough, I had a regret during the January recording with Barry, or was it February, something like that, at the start of the year, because I missed the opportunity to talk to him about AI in translation. And it always bugged me. Damn it. I missed my opportunity to ask Barry, what about using AI specifically on image editing or possibly on the voice acting editing? But in December, when we had him again, I had an opportunity to catch him and ask him what's his opinion on that. I mean, again, he didn't really have that in his mind yet formulated. How could that be used? But possibly in the future, we can see some of that incorporated.
Interesting. That's a whole big world.
Yeah, it is
a huge discussion topic, yeah.
My, to some degree, hot take, could be that AI could have a place, and specifically with those aspects that tend to not been touched, like the image editing, or for example, when you translate the text, you maybe want to have the voices match. In case of VNs that do not translate honorifics, you can still hear the honorifics in the voice. But using AI, you could modify it so that's not the case anymore. And then it matches the text. So again, a couple of ideas. I've seen the YouTube content creators sometimes utilize AI to have a voice portion of old games with old voice actors now that aren't with us anymore to bring to life some segments. And I feel like that's really cool technology. Now, how that comes with law and IP, intellectual property rights, I don't know. But for the purpose of content creation, when I hear the retro games for which the old voice actors are no longer with us, revived in using the AI, like, damn, I'm impressed at the very least.
Well, that's a whole topic for another day.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that we got to meet again with Barry, and you got to float that question there to them at that time. Someone else. We also got to have Cub on hand for an episode. And I was really interested to hear the perspective of someone who is a semi-professional game reviewer and content creator in reviewing various companies and indie titles, games, and visual novels. It was a very interesting angle to look at, and it's one that we don't often see, and something to really get to hear about all the intricacies and behind the scenes of a content creator and a reviewer. I thought that was a very interesting angle.
I gotta say, when it comes to Cub, the integrity that she holds, I mean, it's funny how she calls them actual reviews, but it showcases the integrity. She will not hold back, even on the titles she likes. She will bash them for things that went poorly. And if you think about it, it's a caring and loving approach, because she liked those titles. She wants them to be even better. Get rid of those things that were pain points in her eyes.
Well, maybe we could interpret that those different ways. That's one interpretation.
Fair enough. But I gotta say, I had a lot of respect to Cub. So it's among multiple content creators that suspended their activities. It's sad to see her go and make a pause for content creation. So.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. There were a few people who we had on as guests who are taking some extended hiatuses or breaks to focus on other parts of their life. And it's like, I'm glad we were able to talk with them a little and have a guest episode with them before they took off. Best wishes to all those people. Tom S., we had him before. He had an amazing video about Grisaya. Cub, which we just talked about. And Michael S.K. recently also announced that he is doing a hiatus for now. So thankfully we had some great memories with them and got to have some cool conversations that hopefully all the listeners enjoyed too. That's always the important part after all.
Yep.
Because we can always talk to people on our own and just, talk about VNs and stuff and Discord DMs or what have you. But the important part is also trying to be entertaining for viewers too. Entertaining or informative or maybe even persuasive, or give a new look at some of the other opinions and goings-ons in the VN industry. So I hope we're able to bring that to them.
Exactly. Although, speaking of things left unsaid and kind of regrets from videos, I vividly remember when we recorded an episode with Bruce, how he told us by the end of the recording, we should do it sometimes again and talk about Immortals. And again, given the fact that we just recently recorded a Christmas gift to all of you listeners, yes, it's an episode with Bruce, and it is all about emotes. We fulfilled his regrets. Oh man.
Aye.
That was so funny.
Aye.
Especially since I was quite surprised how calm and collected someone called Bruce Gonluz is. He definitely does not live up to his name. He tends to be way less ranty and chaotic than that name would imply.
Mm-hmm. He's often level-headed.
Now, granted, yeah, he is. And granted, his passion and love for emotes could power through that video, and he could get more agitated with that topic. But other than that, yeah, he is level-headed. He is very rational, and we had tons of fun talking with him.
Mm-hmm. He's a cool guest to have on.
Yeah, exactly. And another surprise, in a way, after we did our research. Okay, so when it comes to process, having guests, we often think about who to invite because we want the guests to have a very cool topic to bring themselves, and we don't want to overwhelm them as well. And oftentimes we research what did they do, etc. And I remember vividly how you researched the Twitter of Board Rodin, and that's an interesting feed, okay? That's very interesting.
Oof, dude knows what he likes.
Yeah, he definitely
I'm all
knows.
for it.
He's definitely one of those 18 plus beware kind of Twitter feeds.
Hell yeah.
And yeah, I gotta say, he was way more reserved than I anticipated. But holy hell, when the topic of the Chunibyo games came up, he went off. I just love that moment, the transformation. And we talked about what makes a title Chuni. That was a funny transformation you could hear live on the podcast.
Mm-hmm. I mean, any, VN fan worth their salt is going to be passionate about something about it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not talking about passionate like, drooling and spitting and ranting and yelling into the microphone sort of thing. But, we're all here because we enjoy it as a hobby. And there are some things that we like especially more than other parts. And it's something we want to share with the world and get our thoughts out and explain ourselves.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. I always like seeing that with our guests and with ourselves, and also when readers also want to get down in the comments too, when they want to talk about something that they really liked, or tell us why you're wrong. Yeah, that's right. Come at me, bro.
yeah, roast us in the comments. Yeah, go for it.
Aye.
That one episode really stuck with me. How it takes one topic, one commonality with someone who otherwise has a very reserved personality. I wouldn't say necessarily shy, but more of a reserved introvert, to just explode and pour out. And that was super cool moment to have captured on the podcast.
Mm-hmm. If you happen to be pretty much wrapped up talking about guests, MR?
I mean, the one part, less about guests, maybe about the topics, is I really remember how unexpectedly calm and collected discussion about turmoils publishing VNs on Steam we had with Vimy. We went very level-headed when it came to different perspectives as a customer, as a developer, slightly as a publisher, and yeah, Vimy also gave us his perspective as an indie dev, how he would approach the situation, how he would suggest the developers to take Steam more of a plan B approach, not necessarily plan A, because then if Steam accepts you, it's a pleasant surprise instead of existential crisis if you get rejected. I felt like, holy hell, that was super cool approach. Even though, okay, my thumbnail that I designed were definitely more inflammatory, and it suggested like it will be raging on Steam more.
True. Yeah, that's good advice in general. You can't always take it. You don't have the luxury of having that freedom to set Steam as your plan B. But with how inconsistent Steam is, you gotta be aware of the risk you're taking. As annoying as that is. Even today, in the past few month or two of recent VN attempted releases, we've seen firsthand just Steam is still an inconsistent monolith.
I definitely do not agree with the recent video of Ange talking about Steam being the best place for VMs. But yeah, I agree from the general audience standpoint and a typical gamer that may dip in to VMs from time to time, how convenient it is. But that's definitely a different video for me to disagree with Ange on. Before we jump off from guests, I want to mention, because since we kind of covered almost all of them, I don't want to skip on our boy Nene-san, because holy hell, that episode with what makes an ending in the end was super cool. Doubly so. On that episode in particular, I challenged you both, guys, that not all the ends have to utilize true ending as the last send-off. Instead of, some VNs could experiment with what if a true end is the first one and depicts canonicity, whereas the what if routes are the optional ones that follow after. And this may be most applicable to VNs that have continuity, so they have multiple titles in a series instead of being one and done. In which then I probably agree that true end should be a send-off. But in that particular episode, I challenged you. And why I mentioned that is that recently, but a couple months back, Nene-san started runs, and I want to see if his opinion changes, because runs is a series of canon continuity, so they kind of need a way to continue from title to title story. So I want to see if his opinion and the stance on the true ends changes. So that's on the Nene-san. Guest. And the second guest I wanted to bring up is Azai Kioske. That I kind of stalked him by looking through Twitch VODs and his Let's Play. I researched him, and then one day I just messaged him directly. Hey, you sound cool. I want to talk to you. If you do you want to appear on the podcast? And then the rest is history. He was super cool. And just after the recording with Azai, he gave me some tips. And since that day, I've been messing around with audio setup. So the difference when you guys hear is exactly after recording with Azai. So thanks to him for some tips and tricks.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's nice. We can all learn stuff from other people, no matter what.
Yeah, and that's a good transition point to go from guests to our state of the podcast, because I want to remind everyone, or if someone didn't listen to the first year review, that we build this podcast to be as, how can I say, humane as possible. We tend to not have any script whatsoever. Even on the intros that I do, it's more of a bullet point of what I want to say, and I just came up with that bullshit on the fly with also funny intros. But that is kind of limiting with the approach that we have, and we kind of are scared of post-processing editing. Sometimes it's a struggle to improve quality, so we are kind of slow and steady. And in this year, I think it was this year that we premiered the new Luna sprites that we commissioned. I think it was this year.
Yeah, this year we commissioned new art for MR's amazing thumbnails. Because it turns out that if you go off of official works, my character Luna only has like 3 sprites or expressions. It gets old really quick when you're trying to put out weekly thumbnails. So yeah, we commissioned some new art and it is wonderful.
And we've been using that ever since we got that commission done. What does it mean? And what does it mean for the next year? What does it bode for S? We'll see. We'll do some S remaster. We'll see. But for now, I'm using the official art. But yeah, the quality, we always think about it. We always consider what to do next. It just so happens that it isn't the fastest because we promised ourselves to use consistency. We want to uphold our consistency of being a podcast that is weekly. And the moment we introduce too many steps in our process, we don't want to be burnt out. The core tenet of our podcast is we already have a life. Podcast is not our source of income, and it's not the necessity we have to have. We do it purely as a passion project, and we want to pour passion in it. The moment it will feel too much as a work, I fear we may be too lazy and abandon it, and will decrease our consistency.
Yeah. We are here to have fun. That's the important part. Fun for ourselves and fun for our viewers. I'm very grateful for everyone who checks it out. And if I've said this before many times, but I always like repeating it, is that if we get even one person who listens to the recordings and has fun and it brightens their day hearing this podcast, then I am perfectly happy with that. I am overjoyed to be making the world a little bit brighter for someone out there. But importantly, we are here 100%. Just to have fun. That's the important part.
Yeah, I 100% second that motion completely. In the back of my head is always, since our listeners sacrifice what is most important, their limited time, I want the quality also to improve as a gesture of, reciprocity. They are spending time. We should make it the best quality time they could ask for, right? That's why I'll talk about the quality that we have in our mind. It's just hard to find the time, especially in the last 2 months. I've been very busy with either work or upcoming house renovations. So we'll see how that will influence our consistency and the plans for the recordings.
Best of luck, Amar.
Yeah, thanks. It's been some time in planning, so we'll see how that works. Hopefully, I won't be sounding like I'm recording from inside a bunker or I don't know, a bathroom. If I switch locations.
There we go. The authentic indie podcaster experience. Recording out of our bathrooms.
The ghetto version.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
One more note, though. I guess a new topic, if you could say. What is one VN that you really enjoyed sharing on this podcast that you read in the past year?
Probably the Amatsutsumi wins.
Amatsutsumi.
Yeah, because it's the first one that springs to mind, and that's probably the biggest indication of that. Because start was very rocky. I like the foundation and the premise of that title, but it stumbled in some ways, especially in its ladder structure on early heroines. But the intrigue and the hook of that one character in Amatsutsumi was so good, I just couldn't. And to be honest, I had a lot of fun talking with other people, most notably Anj, speculating with him. This is how I wouldn't say crack the case, but this is my suspicion what will happen further. And he, in a way, absorbed that and saying, yeah, I'm not saying anything, but I acknowledge your reasoning. I'm like, fuck, am I getting closer or not?
See, that's the best. You can't talk with someone like that who will spoil you. You can't be like, oh yeah, no,
Yeah.
you're on the wrong track, buddy. And it's like, well, no, don't tell me that. I'm theorizing. I'm having fun.
Yeah.
You got to be someone who's just like,
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, kudos to him for being very good sport about it. Man. I definitely had spotted very important lines from certain characters, as well as I told you probably that was the one thing that stuck with me for the longest time. For my fear is, yeah, I've heard that character say that line, and I know that voice actor. I recognize immediately. So this is how I anticipate it would unfold. Now, I didn't guess precisely how it went down, but I was in the general ballpark of what they were trying to convey and pull a twist on. Okay, that was very interesting experience. Like, to be frank, I really like Mandemon from this year, obviously. I really like reading The Date Alive, Red Dystopia. This is a VN fan disc of sorts, or fan sequel, maybe that's a new term I should create. That felt like a great send-off to the series and a love letter to the fans. But still, Amatsu Tsumi has surprised me and had the biggest and sometimes most extreme reaction emotionally from me. Sometimes in negative way, because there are some plot points and or events in the title that just make me, this is no bueno. But otherwise, yeah, I think I would give Amatsu Tsumi the title of the VN I've read and keeps living rent-free in my head to this day.
Rent-free.
What about you, Taurus?
Yes. I would have to give it to Saya no Uta. That was... I've heard plenty of things about it over the years, but never got around to reading it until this year, and this was one heck of a standout title. I'm very glad I got to share my experiences reading it from the viewpoint of someone who's been involved in visual novels for a long time. This wasn't just like my first title or how I got into the medium. This is something that I got to tell everyone how much I appreciated its atmosphere, its writing, its pacing. There was a lot of interesting stuff about it. It was very memorable, and I hope I could have conveyed any amount of that to any listeners. Both the people who haven't ever read Saya no Uta, or for those of you who love the VN and want to see someone new fall into this very depressing, despairing hole.
Oh, what a title. What a title.
Oh my goodness, yes. Now I'm stuck here, so sad that after all these years there hasn't been any continuation or sequels or bonus material. And it's like, no, is this what all of you other fans have been enduring all these years?
No. Listen, I'm going to give you the worst devil deal that ever exists, okay? What is worse, okay? Or which maybe you would prefer? A title like Saya no Uta that you kind of long in for some continuation, some more expanded universe. And I also want to have that because my overall thoughts about Saya no Uta was like, yeah, I want more. It was cool. But it was short. I tend to prefer longer, yeah? So that's the devil. Do you want a title that you long for more? Or Meteor World Actor, a title that left you hanging for more?
I want a title for more. I want a sequel, even if it's bad. Because the funniest one is still the Zero Escape series. With us the second one, Virtue's Last Reward, ended in a cliffhanger. Very much intended for the third, but then it got canceled. But then years later, it got brought back, and it was finally released as Zero Time Dilemma, and Zero Time Dilemma was garbage. But I still want that. But because Zero Time Dilemma was stuffed full of memes, everyone just laughed at so many parts of it, and we just, everyone learned, just don't take this seriously and just enjoy it for just a meme fest. What a way for the Zero Escape.
So you read the Virtual Last Reward, and then you have I have a wish. I wish for continuation, and then the monkey paw curls. Sure, you'll get one.
Life is truly unfair. It's
Yes,
so
exactly.
good. I mean, at the time, there was a lot of angst and a lot of people like, I don't really like what they did with this game. I don't like what they did with the series. Some of the stuff is stupid, blah, 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 lots of arguing. But now we can appreciate it for the silliness it brought into the world. And nothing can take that away.
Okay, so it gives the biggest currency you could ever have. Memes.
Hell yeah.
Oh my god. Yeah. But speaking on shorter titles, I feel like one topic that we had this year that was super cool and I want to replicate is the short title spree we had on the VNture tryouts.
Oh
How
yeah.
we titled that. That was super unique episode in which we tackled multiple VNs and just gave it a shot. Some of them were kind of in an early beta or demo state in case of, oh my god,
these were all like
the-
short indie titles.
Yeah.
Some of them were still in like
sure.
early beta release or just demos so far. But yeah, I mean I really like that name that conveyed it. It was like the tryouts, the rapid fire tryouts.
Yeah.
I thought
exactly.
that was
The
a
Order
novel
Us,
concept too. Yeah.
I remember the Order Us was the small title that had brought some controversy because it got rejected by Steam, so it was on my radar. But I had a lot of fun with the potential that Too Little to Matter had about the adventures of animals. I brought that. That was super cool potential, so I want to see if they will realize that potential further. But overall, that topic was super cool and unique. We just went ham on small titles, gave them all a chance, and then talked in one single episode, like a rapid fire.
That's how I discovered that short title, Kill or Love. That was really interesting. A cool premise, great pacing, some interesting characters. I didn't expect to like it as much as I did, and I was like, wow, I'm glad for this to discover it.
Yep, that was super cool. I mean, in a way, that episode, since it was chock full of titles, we could just talk about them quite, I wouldn't say quite intensely, but with the sheer volume of titles, we could just give them each fair time. I feel like to compare that to reports, right? Sometimes I feel like I don't know to which degree I can, I don't know, take a tangent on a title you describe. For example, you had an episode on Report when you talked about Demon's Roots, okay? And since that was somewhat in my orbit of things to check out but haven't yet read, I went blind on it, right? I don't want to know about that title too much. I want to experience it blind exactly as you did. So I tried to liken what you described to a titles I know. So for example, I brought, if I remember correctly, Kamidori Alchemy Meister, for example. Or titles that tend to portray protagonists from the standpoint of demon lords, right? I don't know to which extent I should ask you generic questions about the title or to what extent I can tangent and compare it to titles I've read. Because that felt like maybe I should research your titles a bit more. I don't know, because when it comes to reports, I really don't want reports to become, okay, this is the Taurus segment, you talk, and then it's MR segment, I talk. I kind of prefer when during the reports there is some dialogue, some questions, and maybe observations. With the Demon's Roots, since I was super blind, I have no idea what this is about. The easiest comparison I have is to titles that bring the similar themes to it. But if I go and delve too deep in my titles, I kind of overtake your report, right?
Exactly, because the point is, if you're going to mention themes, you have to tie it into, like, say, what I'm talking about. instead of just
Yes.
becoming, hey, that
Yes, yes.
reminds me of so-and-so, and now give me 2 minutes to talk about my stuff. And it's like, well, that takes away the
Yeah.
focus. I know you mentioned that you don't want it to become an MR segment and a Taro segment. I don't
Yeah.
think there's anything inherently wrong with that, because that's us talking about the VNs that we've read, and we're sharing our thoughts and opinions. And if the other person doesn't have anything to add, because naturally they're not the ones reading it, then that's just the way things are. There's nothing wrong with that, I don't think.
Yes, but then again, I want the podcast to have the vibe of being us together, not being together alone. If you catch my drift.
Exactly, but that's only if we have something to add, to something to contribute, and sometimes we just don't. I don't think it needs to be something we force, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, fair enough.
But no, I
felt like
totally
in
see
that
what you're saying.
Yeah, I felt like in that episode in particular, I had, and this is why I bring that particular example. I had enough examples of all the themes you bring up. I could fill it up, but there was a certain moment I felt. I think you asked, "Oh, please let me continue," and then I just dropped all the comparisons because I had way too many. That was it's funny problem to have because I definitely had plethora of examples, but at some point I said, okay, you know what? I'll stop hijacking your time. It's the tower speaking now moment.
Oh no. Well, I don't ever think you're hijacking it, Amar. This is our podcast. We both share it.
Yeah, I understand. I just felt like trying to keep my blind approach to Demon's Root kind of backfired on me on that episode.
Besides, I love how you said you're trying to keep it blind so you can walk in the same that I do. I'm not always going through things blind. Sometimes I research this stuff ahead of time, or I know some of the themes or elements going in, because that's what interests me after all. That's why I'm picking it up.
But didn't you pick the Demon's Root based on its notoriety, but otherwise you were quite blind on it, or I'm mistaken?
It was mostly because there was someone I know who constantly recommends it and says the good parts about it, so I had a general overview, which, I mean, I'm gonna assume that's how most people are when they get into a VN, or a video game, or a book, or an anime series. You know, someone's recommending it to them, whether it's a close friend or just a general website or social media post. And in that sense, I feel like you have some knowledge of what makes this good, or it really picks up in the 3rd episode, or this really is one of the founding elements of the moege genre, stuff like that, and praises like that. Whereas in your case, you've mentioned before a lot how you like to really step into things blind, and you don't want to know anything. Like, even to the point where you don't like it how Mufflove keeps telling people it's a mecha series.
Yes, exactly, yeah.
Which is, a very interesting approach, and some would say a more pure approach.
Yeah. That definitely backfired a couple of times on me when I took a title and then after some time, like, oh, really? And after finishing that title, I read the synopsis or description, and I'm like, okay, I don't know what I expected. Yeah, it'd be like that a few times, okay? I can't defend it how if my approach is definitely the best or without problems. Oh, it definitely has problems. Now, funny enough, speaking on approaches, kind of switching the topic a little bit, do you have, from all our episodes, something that springs to your mind that you were the least prepared to cover?
Something
that you were the least prepared to.
Least to? That's interesting.
Yeah.
What, did you have something on your mind?
Yeah, because I wanted to bring, does something comes to your mind for being the least and the most prepared to?
Okay.
To compare. So for the least, and probably to some degree, it kind of slipped my mind. The focus is prophecy. No, sorry, not prophecy. The rituals. Was it prophecy? No, we definitely did a ceremonies, rituals, and festivals in VNs, right? And there are a couple of examples I did not bring up properly to that discussion. I felt like that topic kinda whiffed when it comes to delivery. In a sense, it was kinda too broad of a stroke that we tried to paint without enough examples.
Interesting. Okay. I think, yeah, that's a good point of trying to be too broad and missing the mark entirely. You would think that being too broad would give you the most opportunities to explore something, but it can have the opposite problem of where you have no idea where you're going.
Yeah, on that topic, or that example that I brought, is the easy festival to come up because it's a high school setting. It has to be the cultural festival or maybe graduation ceremony, something like that. That's the easiest one. So we kind of avoided that one and searched all other manners or ceremonies and rituals. And then I look at my list and like, wait, those are all spoilers. Let's and I kept switching what I was talking about. So to me, that topic was probably the one I was the least prepared, and I kind of scrambled the most.
I guess in my court, the one I was least prepared for was when we talked about healing genre in visual novels. Yeah, I don't really read those kinds of titles.
Oh my god, it super helped me that I had a couple of examples that I could bring. But
yeah, thank goodness.
Outside of those, I didn't have anything.
You were talking about like, made for loving you with the maid stuff, and it's like, oh, it's the really sweet, lovey-dovey domestic life kind of thing, and I'm like, that's MR. I don't read stuff like that. I mean, I'm glad for everyone who does. That's not really my court. But
I very rarely read those, but just because I had a couple examples, I'm like, okay, I'm saved.
Yeah, I'm glad it worked out though, because I still brought my A game as best as I could. But I'm like, okay, MR, I'm being level with you right now. I got nothing to add.
There's no healing with Taros, only pain.
No. My heart is already whole. Yeah.
Oh, okay, I see. No healing required. HD max.
HD max. Too easy. Nothing can take me down.
Most prepared. Oh yeah, nice. Most prepared.
Most prepared is
I also have a funny example.
Most prepared is definitely the ass pulls episode where we just went into spoilers.
Really?
Oh, I was sitting on those.
Oh, yeah.
Those have been stewing in my mind for years, ever since I read them. The recent ones even. Oh, I was like, these are stupid endings, and I'm gonna tell the world why.
Oh my god, that has to be the moment of catharsis for them. Oh my god. No, for me it has to be the character level ups. I was definitely prepared for that one. From side to main character level ups, and we even included in the pictures scrolling in the background one character I didn't have the opportunity to call into the discussion. It's from Kiyotsku no Libra, so it's like Libra of the Vampire Princess, something like that. And she's even in the freaking name. She's the princess of that Libra vampire, and she doesn't have a route. I was so fucking mad. She's used in all advertisement. She's promoted everywhere, and not only does she not have an ending, she doesn't have a route, nothing. Like, I was so pissed. And she was really fun character to experience in that VM.
Oh, interesting. Oh boy, okay.
I was so mad. So that's one example that I had prepared that we didn't have the time to cover.
Nice. I wasn't aware. I wasn't aware at the time.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Put out a lot of content, huh?
Yeah. Oh yeah, and one part that kind of slipped my mind. I wouldn't say I was over prepared, but I had that on my list. But during the recording itself, it kind of slipped. It's during the Bruce Emoto episode, because he was so overpowering in that episode. My example, just like I blanked in that moment. Yeah, I brought definitely prepared more emotos that I ended up talking about, because it was Bruce's moment to shine. Okay.
And shine he did.
Oh, definitely, because the one emoto that I was kind of saddened that I didn't brought up is from Happy Maya, because that's a very unique character, because it was Emoto that was also an antagonist. I don't think I've ever encountered those combinations
Ooh,
outside
spicy.
of Happy Maya. Right, so it's like, hot damn.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Who knows what we'll see in the next year then, huh?
Yeah. Hopefully we can see remastered S. We'll see about
Bastard
that.
ass, oh my gosh.
Maybe we'll finalize some of the aspects of our layout. Because, oh my god, during the first recording, we kind of put together that open book with a road and a forest and said it to ourselves, okay, that's just placeholder. It'll be here just for a couple of weeks until we figure out what to put there. And it has been there ever since.
Placeholders have a habit of sticking around.
Yeah.
Temporary plans that become the foundation.
Yeah.
All right. But it has been one super 2024 for us and for all our listeners, I hope. We hope to continue bringing all sorts of great episodes and interesting new topics and new visual novels we've been reading to all of your entertainment and attention. Hopefully, we'll be sticking around the whole time, and we'll give you all sorts of new episodes all throughout the weeks.
Yeah, and this is a very good note to end on, with all that reminiscing and retrospective of the last year. And I would like, again, thanks to all our listeners. We just recently hit 300 subscribers, so we kind of are obligated to do something silly, maybe to celebrate. We'll see. We have that in our mind. And if I'm allowed to be slightly meta during the endings, I never know how to end those episodes, okay? I always stumble. It's so much easier for me to start than to end. So hopefully you all will forgive me, but thanks again, and VNture out.
Of course. VNture out.